Hello, and welcome to another episode of Souls in the Simulation. We are your hosts, Evan and Angie, and this podcast provides an alternate view on life after death, processing everything that's wrong, and possible solutions on how to get it right in the afterlife.
Good morning, everybody. Why do I do that? Because it may not be morning when they're watching it, but it's morning here in the great old, I guess, great old state of Texas. If I say anything else like here, that doesn't usually go well. If you challenge the narrative about the state of Texas anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we are back and we're covering a movie that I listed in a reel that I put up. So I'm gonna let everybody know right now. If you haven't seen it, we're gonna be spoiling it. Um, and it might make the movie not as less dramatic if you know the facts ahead of time. Because once I realized what was going on, I was like mind blown. Um, at toward the end of it. So, but Devin, what did you think of it overall?
I I thought I enjoyed it. It was slow in the beginning, but I really enjoyed trying to like figure out all the different timelines, trying to like puzzle piece everything together. And then I loved how it was just touching on like quantum physics and kind of the constructs of reality. So I love sci-fi movies. So
Well, and it was hard. I mean, for me anyway, it was hard for me to figure. I'm like, what is going on? Who's he married to? What's
yeah,
going on here?
yeah, like
What's happening?
yeah, and it would just like throw him into like another like life with another woman, and you're like, wait, what's happening?
And then he's calling, or he'd wake up and call a woman by. You're like, what's going on? From
Yeah,
moment to
yeah,
moment, he's with
yeah.
one woman, and the next minute he's waking up and referring to the other. I'm like, what is going on? So to give you guys, you want me to kind of do an overview summary?
Yeah, I have a little paragraph I can read here, maybe.
Yeah, let me let you do that.
Okay. So the movie revolves around Nemo Nobody, which is Jared Leto. And as we follow him through these four different like stages in his life, we have the child, teenager, adult life, and finally this like old 118-year-old dying man. Um, and so in the movie, humanity has achieved immortality, and everyone, so he's like one of the last mortals who will die a natural death. And everyone else is kind of like they're not gonna die, and they're carrying around like these pigs, these stem cell pigs. Um, but anyways, enough about that. We can get into that in a little bit. But before Nemo incarnated, there were a bunch of he. Sorry, I'm trying to think of how I want to explain it. I'll read this. So. As Nemo's questioned by a journalist about his life when he's all old, we discover there are many peculiarities about Nemo. Nemo claims that we've been born. Before we're born, we have knowledge of how our life will play out, but our memories are erased just before birth by angels. Nemo, however, was passed over, and he continues to carry this knowledge into his physical life. Due to this burden, Nemo often struggles to make choices. Um, because he's scared he'll make the wrong one. And so in the movie, it's showing him with different wives, kids, variations of how he dies. And in the movie, they're trying to figure out um, his when he's 118 years old, all of his like memories from when he was living. So I don't know, just kind of throughout the movie, you're trying to figure out like, well, uh, what's actually happening. Do you want to touch any more on the synopsis of the movie?
No, I mean, that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah.
And again, like we said at the beginning of this, stop it here if you haven't seen it, because the big spoiler is the reason it's hard to figure out is because what you find out is nothing is real, because it's, and I thought this was interesting. Um, when a 9-year-old child, it's the imagination of a 9-year-old child faced with an impossible choice
Yeah.
of determining which parent he's going to go with after the parents are splitting up in a divorce. And I thought about that phrase, impossible choices, and realized if we want to sum up what this is existing here, that's what it is. We are all constantly, from a young age, the moment we incarnate, from that moment you take your first breath, once you start being able to communicate, and that's you're faced with impossible choices. Even our parents sometimes put us in positions, not even with something as significant as divorce, but in other respects. And then it just gets worse from there. And then on the flip side of that, the worst part of that is that not only do we not stop and think about the fact that we all get faced with things like that, then we turn around and we judge ourselves for whatever choice we made and judge others for their choices they make in terms of dealing with their impossible decisions that are put before them.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's, yeah, that is a good way to summarize the way things work here. Is everything is an impossible choice, right? Like if you buy clothing, most likely you're buying it uh, from somebody who made it under sweatshop conditions or in poor conditions someplace else. All of our electronics, we already know, are that's a lot of slave. Like even eating, do I eat? If you try to eat healthy, it's still poisoned in some way. Even organic vegetable. I mean, we're constantly just bombarded with um, things that where we're constantly having to compromise or, you know, even maybe even going against our own values just to even exist here. I mean, I've found that a lot of people will, within this, will apologize for using AI to write something or because they might have used AI in a video. And I'm like, are we really going to find fault with people? We're probably it's already affecting your life in ways. And I'm not saying embrace it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when you pay taxes to people who are criminals and you don't have you're already compromised, right? We have to do things all the time that are against our nature, whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
So, and also when you brought up the angels, I put a quote um, from the movie in that about and forgive me if you guys see me, and I forgot to touch on this before, but if you guys ever see me during interviews or during our podcast looking down at my phone, I'm not being rude. I'm either like trying to review notes or look at, oh, I had this question or whatever. So I thought I would mention that because I've noticed a couple times in the videos, you can definitely see me looking down or even have seen my phone in the screen. So just to make that clear, but basically they call these angels that Devin referred to, they're called the angels of oblivion. And they put their finger on the mouth of, they show these little children pre-birth. And we wanted to do this movie because I saw it the night after we had done the Michael Newton video we covered. Um, and there was a lot of pre-birth discussion um, through the people uh, Michael wrote about their life in between lives, but the angels actually put their fingers to the lips of these children before they're born. Um, and there's a whole process that I wrote down here um, where he says, um, we're all knowing. That's why they do the whole finger to the mouth thing because you're not supposed to, but they skip Nemo, as Devin pointed out. Um, and the movie never explains why that happens. But then they show the children going into like this. It's basically like a tub with like this milky water, which I told Devin before we started recording. It seems like that might be the kind of like the veil as well, in terms of the finger on the lips. Uh, and I also thought I would mention, do you remember Devin at the begin, like before the movie even kicks off, one of the things I noticed is the first thing that popped on my screen for the production company was PATH, PATH. And then as I started going through more production companies, they listed it again with the same logo, but it's a virtual PATH is the actual name of the production company. And I thought how fitting for this movie that one of these production companies has that name.
Yeah.
Um, and then I thought, what did you think of the pigeon superstition? Do you remember that?
Yeah, in the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it? The pigeon, they made the pigeon
The,
think that whenever, um,
well, no, they just gave the pigeon food every 20 minutes.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the pigeon would flap its wing because the pigeon, and they talked about how this kind of applies to us too. But the pigeon would eventually try to do things like what, because it's trying to figure out what did I do to deserve this?
yeah,
And he even asked that question about his own life. Right after that, it shows him dead. What did I do to deserve this?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, um, so, and he called it, he said they call this pigeon superstition. And we kind of do that with our own living lives,
yeah,
right? We're always constantly trying, the brain is constantly trying to make meaning out of things to create results, or even believe in religions, or, uh, you know, some of our ideas get really silly.
yeah, definitely. I think the brain is always trying to make that meaning out of stuff. Um,
And you remember when he was I thought it was interesting as an older man, because that kicks off right at the beginning too, when the tattooed, like, kind of came across as like a maybe a therapist or a counselor, but the guy's got tattoos all over his face
yeah,
and he's talking to him. But there's a lot of stuff about memory here, right? The memory wiping of the children.
mm,
And first off, as an old man, what does he say? I can't remember a fucking thing.
yeah,
And then he
yeah,
shouts it a second time. Um, and then it went from in the movie, it goes from that to showing this broadcaster, um, basically like, here's this 118-year-old man, and he's like, the last mortal man or whatever, but he's like, he's not been telomerized, which I thought was an interesting word, and has no stem cell compatible pig. And I just thought that was,
oh yeah,
you know, I was like, that was weird. And right after that, it pans to those cameras that are flying around Nemo, the older version of Nemo. Did you notice they look like eyeballs? I kept thinking all seeing eye.
yeah, yeah, me too.
But,
That's what I thought too. Yeah, yeah,
hmm yeah, I was like, that's really there's a even the reference to chess later on in the movie. I've noticed I've been paying a lot of attention to how often the white and black, like, it's at events. And that's very I can't even think of their name because they're Masons. That's very Mason stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like white and black thinking too. I know the void he enters in where he doesn't make a choice. That was also black and white, right?
Yeah.
The movie? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
you have references to there was a lot of things uh in terms of like very subtle ways in movies I'm noticing where they incorporate this stuff, or even at an award show or something with a black and white gore. Um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's strange, huh? And then like black and white, I feel like it's very we see it a lot in like hypnosis too. Which they use hypnosis as a regression, but like a mind control like tactic as well. Not to say that hypnosis is mind control, but you know,
no,
uh,
but yeah, and well, I mean, it could be used for that
it
in
could
the
be,
one
of
hand for
course, as we
sure.
see.
And
Uh,
remember, he kept saying, I've got to wake up at the beginning. I've got to wake up. You remember that?
in which body was he in?
If this is this is right at the beginning, right after he says, I can't remember a fucking thing.
Oh, okay,
And
so
then shortly after that, he goes, I've got to wake up. I've got to wake up. And then right after he says that, we leave. That's when we leave that old man realm and we get the
Oh,
first young Nemo, but probably
oh.
middle-aged Nemo,
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
one of many,
Yeah.
one of the many different. I mean, and this is the thing. It gets, as you're watching it, it gets hard to differentiate between um until it gets into the scenes. You're like, where are we at?
Yeah.
Because he's constantly waking up here, or we're transitioned to another life with a family, to him being a teenager, to and then the different teenage thing.
Yeah.
Because once he goes with once we get this split with the parents, and I was watching this with somebody, and I told the person I was watching it with, I was like, there's something about the tracks, right? It kept showing the train tracks and the convergence of tracks
Yeah.
coming together and splitting off. And I go, there's something about this,
Yeah.
something with all these lives and those train tracks
Yeah.
and the child running after the train.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you notice the correlation with like the water too? That each and every time
Yes.
in going into a different like reality or different timeline, whatever it was, water was somehow involved in the beginning and then usually like in the end, I think too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it'd show him like, oh, he's drowning in the car, or he's drowning in the pool, or there's, his wife is getting rained on. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the parents, toward the end of the movie when he's telling the Nemo who didn't exist, we'll get into that in a little bit, but he says, uh, maybe your parents never met. And so instead of how they show in the beginning how they met, instead it's raining on the parents. And the dad's trying to hold his umbrella and they're distracted, so they pass each other. And you also have the raindrop that lands on the card with Anna's phone number on it that blurs the phone number out,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of water placement in this movie for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there is. And the train tracks too. Yeah. What about I'm trying to think real quick. So going to the notes. Uh what else stuck out to you in the movie that was kind of like, huh, this
Well, when I first started watching, honestly, I thought, well, you laughed when you saw one of the things I wrote after my title of my notes when I put,
Oh yeah.
I thought we were doing another remake of the Butterfly Effect on steroids, which I
So
would suggest
yeah.
basically this movie, if you took the Butterfly Effect and Vanilla Sky and another movie that's much older called Waking Life, which do you know what that's about?
No, I don't. I don't.
Oh,
I need to watch it.
so it's actually animated, which when people told me, I'm not, a lot of times I'm not big on animation, but people told me what it was about, and I was like, okay, check it out. And actually, I was pleasantly surprised. It's basically about an individual who keeps, and it's strange. There's these strange dreams, but it's different dreams, and they go from one to the other to the other, and but they're questioning each one, am I awake yet? Am I awake? And when you get down to the movie, the question then becomes, are you really ever awake? And so it's so to me, I kept getting those, I kept going back and forth. Is this going to be like a waking life kind of thing, or more of a butterfly effect thing, as I was trying to put the pieces together through most of it. So that was my impression while watching it. Because I can't, for the life of me, I was like, what? What? And then even the person interviewing him for the recording, when as an old man, as he's reciting his life to this younger man. By the way, the younger man is played by a character in a series, a British series called Ashes to Ashes, which is in our suggestion reel that I'm going to be releasing here probably today, um, or maybe in a few days. I got to get a few more titles in there, but he, I don't know, I lost my train of thought on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
memory swipe, man. That just left. I don't know where I was going with that. Uh, anyway, moving
Do you ever,
on.
do you ever I don't
I
know.
have memory lapses. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. Or like
apparently I do.
yeah, the weirdest ones are like when you're walking through a door and then you forget, like you completely forget. And then when you backtrack your steps and walk through that same door, the memories come back. They're like little portals.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I've had that. Or my favorite thing would be like the banana peel in your keys. You're
The
walking
what?
up to your like so like I call it the like I've done it. I've literally done it before because I've had a hectic schedule. I'm walking out the door with the banana because I don't have time to eat, and I got my car keys, and I'm throwing the banana like so I'm supposed to throw the banana peel away, but instead of throwing the banana peel away in the trash can, I'm throwing my keys in the trash can. Go to the car, try to put the banana peel in the door because you're so not in sync that then you got to go dig out the banana peel out of the trash or the keys out of the trash and throw the banana peel in there.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
Silly stuff like that that happens. But yes, I have had that experience with the door thing for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. So speaking of like doors and different realities, I know like with the movie, it made me think of like I don't know, just kind of um quantum jumping a little bit. And
Yes.
if you yeah, definitely like all of the highest timeline. It wasn't it depressing though how even on his like happiest timeline, he still ended up like alone and um like sad in the end. What were you
Well, I think I was trying to put my finger on it because before it shows him as the last man there at the last, remember he does find Anna.
yeah.
And then it kind of alludes to the fact that he did live once because it goes right from that scene where they're together
Hmm.
to him. That's when he starts telling that young guy that's interviewing him, you don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think, well, speaking of that, we could get into, I have it written down, a brief thing about the women because I thought that was, um, while I was watching it, to put in there about basically you have the timelines are if he goes with his mom, he gets Anna.
Yeah.
But and that's like supposed to be the one true love thing, right? Um, and his best life if he can get it to work. But if you notice that particular timeline with her, she is more often than not unattainable.
Yeah.
And then Elise, the blonde who was mentally uh
Challenge.
off, like just
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, mentally afflicted
Yeah.
with depression.
Yeah.
There's only one instance where she's not attainable, where she chooses somebody else and then she also dies, and then they're also together, which that doesn't go well. And then Jean, the Asian woman, that he has no problem, but that's his most empty life.
Yeah. That one made me sad. Yeah.
And I actually wrote the quote uh that she reads to him. It's a note that Jean finds. And he says, there comes a time in life when everything seems narrow. Choices have been made. I can only continue on. I know myself like the back of my hand. I can predict my every action. I'm sorry, my every reaction. My life has, this is how I feel my life is, honestly.
Yeah.
My life has been cast in cement with airbags and seatbelts. I've
Mm.
done everything to reach this point, and now that I'm here, I'm fucking bored. The
Yeah.
hardest, right? And he goes, the hardest thing is knowing whether I'm still alive.
Gosh.
And if you think about it, do you remember right before he starts dating and when they show him as a teenager, after Elise tells him that she's in love with the other guy when they're teenagers? and it shows him riding his bike, and he's like, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this. Basically, he describes the life that he has with Jean, and it's the most empty of all of them. And that quote was in direct reference to all of the list of things: the house, the car, the wife, the two kids, to a T. And it's the most empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was after uh, and it seemed to be that in one timeline with Gene, when he ended up in that, when his car went off the road, it seems like in one he survived it because it looks like she's coming to him after his accident, right? When he's in the robe. And then there's another timeline where he's dead in the morgue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's the problem with when you're first watching it, is these splits, because um, they'll show an event, but it may not follow a linear, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll jump back and forth, and they'll be like,
Oh,
oh, that's in
yeah.
reference to that. You know, he died, he did die.
Yeah.
And in one of them, he also didn't. So you've got that going on too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Morgan was shown like in the beginning too. I hadn't even
Yeah,
made
it was.
that correlation. Yeah.
That's how, I mean, that's actually how it starts off after the whole pigeon and all of that. Or actually, no, it shows him laying in the morgue, I think, just kick
Yeah.
it off.
Yeah.
And you know what else I forgot to mention?
Hmm.
It's on a little short paragraph in one of the reels I did, but Nemo, do you know what that means in Latin?
Nobody, right?
No, yep, nobody
Yeah.
or no one.
Yeah, no one there. Yeah. Yeah, so his name was No One Nobody. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, you know, at the beginning of it too, we'll talk more about it later, but he did see versions. It did show versions of of the version of him wearing the plaid sweater from the very beginning, and then you don't see that for the till the end of the movie, till almost the end of the movie again.
Mm.
The life that he doesn't ever live because of, you know. But I just thought I'd mention that really quickly, that you'll get a glimpse of something that's going to be really significant later on, with that whole line, that whole existence not really even in the imagination, it's not given an existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Um, One thing I mentioned to say it earlier when we were talking about the doors, and the portals and all of that. I wanted to mention quantum jumping and kind of jumping on like the highest timeline of even like of how we can do it in our own realities. And have you ever heard of the shower technique?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I had to do it on Thanksgiving because I woke up and I was in like such a bad mood. But so it's a way to that we can um, quantum jump in our own lives to step on a more um, you know a better path where maybe things are better. But anyways, it goes like this: like before you step into the shower, you you're just kind of like visualizing how your life is now, the emotions you're feeling maybe, and then you step into the shower, and you're still, okay, like this is where I'm at currently in my life. Then you're supposed to step out of the shower, close the shower curtain, and then you imagine yourself as you're going to open the shower curtain and then you're going to step into the reality that you want. So you start manifesting it. You're saying, okay, I'm going to step into this reality where things are more aligned, where I get the job that I want, where this choice seems easier, da da da. And then you visualize yourself stepping into that reality, close the shower, and then like visualize all the emotions and stuff. And when you step out of the shower, or when as soon as you step in, you're already in that newer, more aligned, higher reality. Did I make that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of, I wanted to share that because I was thinking
I'm
about.
going to start using that.
Yeah,
Let's start walking
it
into some
helps.
health here.
It helps, yeah, because I mean, like the showers in themselves are already like cleansing, right? You go into the shower, and you just feel so much better, afterwards sometimes. But you can use it to literally like step into a more higher timeline for you. And it might not be, you might not step onto the highest timeline for you. As we saw in the movie, his highest timeline, it still wasn't always like rainbows and kittens, but. It can be a tool maybe to help. I did it on Thanksgiving and I was able to feel a lot better. Thanksgiving, the morning of, I was just like so stressed and grumpy and like, but yeah, yeah. So I wanted to share that. And I also wanted to share on like the quantum mechanics of everything happening in the movie of the concept of retro causality. Have you heard of
Oh, yes.
and it's basically where the future can change things that are happening in the past. And it like the concept that future influences the past and that the normal, era of time where things are linear, it can always like just change. And yeah, I liked that and how it was portrayed in the movie and um, I'm
Well,
trying to
and tying into that, oh no, go ahead because I don't
oh
want
go
you to
on, go
forget.
on.
I was going to say, tying into that. So the interesting thing is how he shows at the beginning that the leaf blowing, right? The butterfly, they mentioned the butterfly effect in the movie.
Yeah.
That leaf ends up blowing when his parents meet.
Yeah.
He slips on his motorbike on a leaf that causes the wreck
Oh, you're right. And then the leaf,
where he ends up mangled. Yeah.
yeah. And the leaf at the very end, he chooses to like the leaf.
Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't choose either of them, and it goes in front of Anna. Is that what happens, or is that
Yep.
yeah?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He follows it into
But
the forest, or
yeah, so you have all of these, or how about this when he says that the reason that the phone number, Anna gives him a card with a phone number in one of the timelines where they've connected and it looks like they're going to be together. This is the version of him with the really long hair. And
yeah,
he's looking at the phone number and the raindrop falls on it and blurs it out.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he's supposed to call her back in 2 days. And the funny thing is, and then it flashes to him being an old man again, and he tells the guy interviewing him, he goes, "Do you know why I lost Anna's phone number? Because an unemployed Brazilian boiled an egg." And
yeah,
then he goes to explain the process by which how that went up into the pipe, the exhaust from his oven that wasn't working properly, and it affects. So you get these glimpses of something similar, to, not necessarily the whole future influencing the past, but how a snowflake can land on a bamboo and
yeah,
bend it. He
yeah.
makes that reference. Or this whole thing of something happening that's rather insignificant here
Hmm.
has this huge effect elsewhere. So
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
that theme, which is prevalent throughout the whole movie, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it made me laugh.
The
But I
butterfly.
mean, even while I was watching it, when he goes, when he said, "Do you know why I lost Anna?" And I was like, "This is going to be some really profound thing," and it was because an unemployed Brazilian boiled an egg, and I started laughing. I was like, "That's hilarious! That is hilarious!"
Yeah, like
Uh,
something completely like insignificant, random. My jaw dropped when he said that. I was like, you said what? What? Uh,
what's happening? What's going on?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, we forgot. I forgot to mention. They cover this in the beginning of the movie too. There's no sex in the future, apparently, in
Mm,
that timeline.
yeah.
Um, and I wanted to mention too, do you remember when he talks about being first as an infant? You see, like he's looking at his mother's eyes because I see her eyes, but I cannot see my own.
Mm,
I see my hands, but I cannot see myself.
yeah.
And I and then right after that, he talks about where was it here? Um, and then the question, if you can't see yourself, do I even exist? Is the next question that he asks. Do I exist?
Yeah. Yeah. Babies, they don't even know of their own existence. They only know of their like mother's existence until they're about, man, uh, 6 months old, I think, something like that. Uh,
Maybe that's why that question is in there then.
yeah, yeah. And so they are completely like, yeah, they don't know of their existence at all. They only know pretty much of their like their mother or their, maternal, their caregiver at that time. There's no separation of self at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that makes sense. You're in there for 9 months. I mean, you know, and then he followed that up with the very next thing you have him doing as he's growing up. It shows him growing up after he goes through that whole thing I just explained. And then he's asking his mother all these big questions. And her response is stop asking why, because it's too complicated. And we're told that. I used to ask my mom. I recall as being a child asking why there's evil in the world. Why doesn't God love us enough to keep you? And then I would get told, nobody, that's too big. Don't worry about it. Nobody knows. Or my grandmother's favorite response to that was, you swim in waters too deep that
Yeah.
have no answers.
Yeah. So were you the kid that was always asking these questions or
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Um, I, I, I thought I would mention too, at the beginning of the movie when he introduces himself, he says, "Do you know who you are?" That counselor, psychologist. I'm just going to call him the tattoo guy.
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm Mr. Nobody, a man who never existed, or a man who doesn't exist," is actually the exact quote. And then it goes from that into a middle age version of Nemo talking about time and the universe expansion after the Big Bang and what happens after expansion. And that, like, basically saying that time is what we only see it as linear, but what would it be if it was actually, if it's more temporal? And then it reminded me or made me think of, I don't know if you've seen the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm, I haven't, no.
Um, the premise of that movie is basically she gets exposed to a chemical that women produce and give to the infant when they're pregnant for development. And she ends up, they make a synthetic, there's a synthetic drug made that they want to sell on the streets. And she ends up through a long process absorbing that drug. And before you know it, she's using like 100% of her brain capacity. And she ends up gaining all of this knowledge. She feels connected to everything. Well, she's basically talking to scientists as she's expanding so much that she's eventually not going to exist here anymore. And so she's trying to give them all this information. And so she shows them, why do we exist at all? And she goes, time. And then she pulls up an image of a car speeding around on a track. And it would come around and you'd see it coming to the screen and then go off the screen. And she goes, now speed up time to infinity. The car doesn't exist at all. And she goes, time basically is the only thing that without time, we don't exist here. And I do agree with that. I think there's truth to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
what creates, in my view, it's what creates the density here.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then we have the whole thing about, you know, Chronos,
Yeah. Oh, that too.
right? All the
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
the Yahweh, Yahweh, all of it, whatever's responsible for this is also responsible for the reason time exists at all here. That's just my take on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Time is very, very like prevalent, I think, here. And apparently, in the higher densities, it's no longer like a thing. So I think it's definitely tied in through those influences and um to put lots of pressure on us while we're here in this heavy, dense
Hmm.
place. Yeah. Um, let's see. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the water. Um, so in one scene, Nemo's sitting in a room and it begins to flood. And
Oh yeah.
the water, I kind of talked about it earlier, but it was seen as like both a positive and a negative thing, right? And when it begins to flood, it was like his punishment for not making choices. And then it was like life was attacking him because he was unable to like make that choice. And then it went to like the lifetime where he's devastated by the loss of Anna, and he's like he's working in like pool maintenance, and he's purifying the water for others, but he's unable to swim and like enjoy it for himself. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so I thought that I don't know, just like the prevalence of all of the water that was like forcing him. It was just it had such heavy implications on everything. Um,
Well, it actually we get a big to kind of solidify this. The whole thing with Anna starts very, very early, and so does the water because they meet at a swimming pool when he's a boy. Do you remember?
oh yeah, and then she
And and that's
dives in.
yeah, that's her. Yeah. And it looks like what he ends up doing the rest of the time, the minute that his parents split up, he's looking at that moment as a child trying to figure out a way to have the timeline where he's going to be with her. Because none of the other two,
Diving.
neither one of the other two girls you see,
Yeah.
maybe it's in the group of girls he walks past that say hi Nemo, but the Asian, I didn't see an Asian girl in there, and I mean, yeah, there was a blonde girl, but I'm not sure if that's at least or not. But you really get this, and you also see Anna at the end of a dock after he catches his mom
Yeah.
having the kiss with the guy that she's eventually going to leave his dad for,
Yeah.
which is Anna's father, actually.
Yeah.
And there's water there too,
Yeah.
again. So there you go.
Oh, yeah. Man, I was so grossed out with like the the fact that his mom got with him, or Anna's father, and um I don't know, all of the like additional scenes I had to show between him and Anna. But side note, that was a random side note. It was
No, it's not because
uh,
actually I was going to say at some point during this video, and this is a
yeah.
good time
Hmm.
I just started watching Black Orphan, which that'll be in the next real suggestion too. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of stuff
It's on
in
Netflix,
that.
right?
Yeah, but I will preface this with saying, um, in relation to what you're talking about, it like the sex stuff.
Yeah.
And I made the comment in front of my provider because I had watched, I said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be watching Mr. Nobody again today which was yesterday and tomorrow, which is today. And she's like, no, that's fine. I love it. And I was like, I do too. I do too, but I go, I'm sick of naked people. I'm sick of it. I
Right?
was like, I
Yeah, and
don't,
then
why does it have to be
being
so
naked.
graphic?
Yeah. Yeah. I was
Oh, I
watching.
mean, I know why, because it sells for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, it doesn't need to be, we don't need to like, you can insinuate what's happening, but we don't
Exactly.
like see it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was watching it with like a person. I was like, this is so gross. Like, I don't want to watch teens like doing it. And they just kind of like didn't have a response. And I was like, okay, maybe, I don't know. It's just,
I always get uncomfortable. I don't know why we have to, we know, I mean, we know what goes on.
yeah. Yeah.
So do we have
Right.
does it
Yeah.
have to be so explicit, especially with people?
And
I mean,
it's,
I'm hoping they're not underage, but I mean, we know that's happened.
yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, they could tell us, oh, well, they were legal. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you guys
And it's
always
such,
honor that, right?
yeah. It's such
Please.
an American thing too. Like you'll see it like in other countries, of course, but like
I
it
don't know. France is really bad.
oh,
Like
that's true.
The French are really bad with stuff like that. If anybody's watching in France, no offense, but you guys kind of are,
Necessary.
a little out there with
I know.
uh, the sex stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I know we had a comment from someone that was saying, what did they say? They're asking if they use like sex, like the archons or deities use sex for like loosh. Um
I think they
and-
do.
oh yeah, like orgasms. Think of that heightened emotional state when people are like reaching that point. Totally. And of course like good and bad energy. They're Yeah. I
I mean, if I
definitely
could
think
go do
that.
my life again, knowing if I can take all the knowledge I have and start, say it like, oh, yeah, even as a toddler,
Yeah.
oh, everything would be done different. I wouldn't have even done relationships, not
Yeah.
romantic ones anyway.
Yeah.
Sure. I wouldn't have even engaged in any of that,
Yeah.
and how, I mean, for anybody watching, and I'll ask you this if you don't want to answer, I totally respect it, but how many of you as women, as mothers, would you bring a soul here? With the knowledge that you have, I'm not judging because we've all been there and didn't know what this place was. It takes time, but if you knew, would you? I'm curious to see what kind of responses we get,
Yeah.
or if I get hated for asking it. But
No, yeah, it's a
I
good
wonder.
question. It's a good question. And like still I'm like, I can't change anything from the past, but uh like I it's so hard. Like I don't want my daughter to be subjected to all of the crazy stuff in the world and then how it's going to get even more crazy. Like it's just getting worse and worse as time goes by. Um Laughing is my coping mechanism, sorry. But
No, I think sometimes you do have to laugh
yeah. Yeah.
because it's so dense. It's the
Yeah.
question's heavy,
Yeah.
right? It's a heavy question.
Yeah.
Because I've often, and here's the thing, we sit there and we talk about our souls and healing, or and so I get it. I think I do agree that the soul's probably part of this whole thing, and plays a role into part of the trap. I'm just using that as, okay, so our energy in this avatar. How do we know? How do we know that it isn't, that the split isn't just so much in your past lives and all of that, but it could also be that we're split as energy into what forms animals, and they're part of our consciousness. We don't know. We can't say definitively that they're not because we don't know. We know that we're fractured, but we don't know how that fractured is manifesting here, right? So the fact that we're not even, I haven't heard anybody say what I'm saying right now. I haven't heard anybody address that or even conceive of it. But why would that be any less possible than anything else? Pieces of divine sparks, just in smaller amounts, are gonna function differently than larger fragments of our essence here. But it's still all forms of consciousness or divine. I mean, there's still energy and they're being fed off of as well. So then, therefore, it, um, and I guess I'm going to put this out there. I welcome challenging, you know, being pushed back on. I welcome that. But I'd like to see somebody debate and tell me outright, no, that's not possible. Well, how can you say? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm a little bit confused. What are you saying? Or what are you
So
trying?
like, so you know how we talk about that we're fractured?
Yeah.
We all talk about that.
Yeah.
And some of it, that, like, whether because of our past lives or part of our energy, like they'll say, part of our energy is already up there. And because we can't sustain, um, our bodies couldn't handle all of that. So my point is how do we, how can we say that animals and other things are also part of that fracture? Being
Oh.
part of my essence, your essence, and everybody else's essence is also in the animals. And in what, that's how you make this reality, is with our energy. So therefore our energy is in everything. They can't create. Yeah, they can copy, but I don't think they can even create this place without us perceiving it, and without the energy. A tree has energy.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've heard this with my own ears when we were truck driving when I first started, and I had, you'll go out with a trainer, which is a whole lot of fun because you're in a truck in a space that's smaller than any bathroom with another person for like 5 weeks. Granted, one's driving during the day, the other person's sleeping at night, but still, it kind of sucks. And This trainer that I had, she was a great person. I couldn't pick a better trainer. But we were up in Oregon, and I was a night driver, and I was sitting up in the driver's seat because we had bad weather. We were sitting out, and since I was new, she didn't want me driving while she was sleeping, which I was totally fine with. And we were up on what's called it's a mountain just before you come into Pendleton, Oregon, and they call it Cabbage Pass. It's really dangerous, curvy, this descent into Pendleton, Oregon, coming down the mountain. And we were on top of it, and it's snowing like crazy. But there was this moment where everything was quiet, dead of night, and there was this eerie, almost like a crying sound. I can't really, but almost barely audible. And it was kind of creepy. And so the next day I was talking to the driver's name was Audra, my trainer. And I said, there's this weird noise. And she goes, that's the trees. And I went, what? And she goes, that's the trees. She goes, the more that you come up here, you're going to hear that. It's from all of the logging. It's the sound the trees make after they're cut. And I thought she was full of shit. Well, then I picked up, since we're in the Christmas holiday season, I have hauled Christmas trees. And you actually have to drive, a lot of y'all may not realize this, but we will take our big rig, 53 feet of trailer and the cab of the truck, and you will drive up the worst dirt road and tiniest dirt road you can imagine, up to a mountain where they're actually literally cutting the trees. And even during the daytime, with all that machinery and stuff going on, there's that sound again, same sound, different trees, same sound. And it's really haunting. And
Yeah.
so that leads me, and they also, I mean, even blades of grass, when you cut them, will warn the other grass that there's a sound that they make, a frequency that they send out to warn the other grass that death is coming. So we know that they've measured this among plants. So if that's the case, my point is we can't definitively say that we're not part of everything here, which I know. And again, I'm not trying to sound new agey in that way, but I'm just saying, how can we not say that we may not be so fractured that we're not also part of the animals and they're part of us. I don't understand how we can definitively say that.
Okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Like the connection. The connection.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
energy too, like the
The
energy of
energy.
it.
Yeah. I think like animals, they each have their own like uh yeah, I think we're separate in a sense. We're each our own individuals, but each and every animal has their own personality, you know. Like each one of my cats, I can they have their own thoughts and behaviors and personality.
But how
And
do
I
I
think
know I
that
wasn't a cat in a prat's life? I
um
mean, can we honestly say that aspects of me in smaller amounts wasn't here in the form of a cat before?
yeah, I see what you're saying. Uh
Right? Or my, I mean, because I've heard people make there's always a joke of, I hope that person comes back as a cockroach,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like people say that. And I get that again, the amount of the energy can't fit, like again, you can't take whatever my essence is and then make me into a cockroach. No, that wouldn't work
Yeah.
because it's too much for it. But I'm saying, like, how do I know I'm not, like, aspects of me, like, I'm just throwing numbers out here because, again, I have no idea. But like 30% of me, of my whole, that is my whole energy that's up there, 30% of me is part of, is canine. And do you see what I'm saying? Like attributes of our essence being put into other things for them to exist. Or do you think they are just individuated completely?
Um
or I'm just talking out my ass and just throwing it up. Because I'm just curious to see what other comments we get too on this.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I kind of like I don't know. I zoned out like I zoned
It's
out for
Sunday
a minute, but I
morning.
was thinking, yeah. But
Oh, well,
I
almost
know
Sunday
what you're
afternoon
saying. I know
now.
what you're saying, and I think like um, for each individual, each person is different. But my thoughts would be once we like get into the spiritual realm, they want us like I don't know. My thoughts could be maybe we could start off as animals eventually, and then we go into human lives. But like the story they might be selling us, I mean, it could be, it could be, I don't know. But the story they're like selling us in the spiritual realm, and maybe this is where I get caught up because I am so into that part of everything. So they just want us reincarnating as humans to like learn the lessons and the whole Earth school thing. But I mean, like they could maybe like throw us into a um, animal or uh, I know I've heard animals. Sometimes people will say like, "Oh, my spirit guide is an animal," or "My like mother is an animal," and like maybe like I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
yeah, I've heard
speak
that
true,
too. Yeah.
but yeah, yeah. We'll see what other people say. I kind of feel like lost on that.
Well,
Um,
and there's no way we're going to have, uh, you know,
yeah,
a
yeah,
definitive. It's just something I wanted to throw out there because
sure,
while
sure.
we were watching this, when I was watching it, I kept having that the whole time. I mean, because I felt so lost in throughout watching it, trying to figure out what's going on. It was like that's kind of how we are here.
Yeah,
If we were really and maybe it's just because I'm new to this within the last few months, but and I kind of said this in the interview with Ola, but if I hear one more person who I don't care who it is say, I have it figured out, fuck you. You don't.
yeah. That's like the biggest red flag. Like, oh, I'm right. I have it all, figured out.
Nobody, and I love our community. I love all of you guys. All of our, like the comments we're getting is amazing,
Yeah.
but you will get if anybody starts putting stuff on there where you've got the answers, I'll comment with my personal account. So it's not from, but I will give you pushback on that because I don't want to hear it. If that's the kind of stuff that people are going to, when
Yeah.
people say, I know this for a fact, because here's the thing, I don't even trust the life in between lives or the NDEs. Here's why. There's no way we have of knowing whether or not that's not implanted shit.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We don't know. And we know that they mess with NDEs. There's a reason for that, so that they can come down here and promote what? More bullshit.
Yeah.
So if our memory, I mean, we've got somebody that comments on the channel and basically says things like, well, I'm new, I'm new here, and I still have my memories from whatever. Are they your memories
Oh
from
yeah.
your pre-life here? And you're telling everybody else they don't know what they're talking about,
Yeah.
but you're here with us. So obviously you didn't remember enough.
Like all the people that remember like Lemuria and Atlantis being so wonderful and da da da.
Yeah, it's astounding to me. Um, we don't know. I'm not saying make yourself small. I think it's more, it makes you bigger and more in tune with reality to say, I don't know, versus saying if you're saying you have all the answers, all you're doing is telling yourself, like one does in religion, shit to comfort yourself, but yeah, I'm getting to the, like, I think I even may have said in, um, it I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I'd said it on here or not, but sometimes, um, in interviews in general can be, I guess we could take a poll on it and find out, do you guys want us interviewing people or, because we don't want to get pushback. We don't always agree with the things people say, uh, necessarily. Some things we do, but some things we don't. Um, and so it's up to you guys to decide. what what you are going to discern or take away from that. But I mean, because Devin and I were thinking that we have a better, we get really like weird. I don't think we're ourselves either. Do you? When we do interviews, I feel awkward sometimes.
I feel awkward. I definitely feel awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, it's just more comfortable when it's just you and me. And
Or when Jackie was on, like I wouldn't mind having a viewer, but I think it's different with somebody who's already out there. So you guys let us know.
yeah,
Um, and I thought, and I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but
I think another thing too, like when it's like I don't know, you and me and Jackie, there's like a um or even like John, there's just that easygoing conversation, the back and forth where it's just wanting to hear everyone's opinions. Um, Never mind. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. But like, never mind. Never mind.
it's well, no, I know what you're saying is basically
Yeah.
when somebody comes on, they have to kind of go and just start talking and getting out what they're saying so they can fit because they're talking about big stuff and everything that whether their channel or their books are about and trying to condense that into a short period, you kind of feel like, whoa, we're off to 90 to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which I get. We totally understand that. But
Yeah.
I think what you're referencing is that when it's like, even if we had some of the people that comment, we have a point of reference for you and a more casual, and you guys aren't you haven't wrote a book
Yeah.
or you don't have a channel in which you're trying to compress down everything that you've said
Yeah.
into a short chunk of time.
Yeah.
Am I right? Did I
Exactly.
paraphrase
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
better?
Yeah. And of course, like there's just, yeah, that more like ease of the conversation and everything. But uh,
Yeah, and
I don't know.
like if we had I mean, you guys have some great points, stuff that even I haven't even considered. I'm like, oh, that's interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have rapport with you through the comments or through we've had some emails coming through. By the way, the email I had somebody just so that you guys are aware, so we're not talking about something that you guys have the point of reference. Or we had an individual who watches our channel who sent me some information that I might want to look into for dealing with MS from a more natural state. Do you know what her name is? Galaxy is her first name.
That's so
And so when I replied back, I was like, I never thought I'd write a Galaxy before an email, but here I am writing to a Galaxy but I just thought what an interesting name. That's really cool. Can you
I've
imagine?
never.
Like, that's
Yeah.
a lot to live up to, right?
I think it's a cool name. So
I think it's awesome. I
wow.
was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have never met anybody with that
Yeah.
name.
And our names, they have an imprint on us. I'm sure she's full of wonderful insight and knowledge. Yeah.
I mean, she's overcoming MS, so I'm
Yeah.
definitely like, I'm like, so obviously she's living up to the name just
Yeah.
by virtue of that alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So hello, Galaxy, if you're watching. Hello, all of you who are watching. Not to single out,
Yeah. Okay. So before we got off on our tangent, I know we were talking, I wanted to say like one more thing on like all of like the like sex and stuff. Can I say that on YouTube? I don't know. We'll
yeah,
find out.
yeah,
Um,
you can say sex,
can
yeah.
we? Okay. But it was
I
about
mean, we can cuss, so I don't know why you can't say.
yeah, yeah. It was about the Loosh comment about sex and all of that. And I can't help but think that the way it's being portrayed, how it's shown so easily in movies and on the internet, like porn and everything, and how easily accessible sex is, how if we are unconscious with it, or just doing it for pleasure or like meeting people just for, that, which we see so much in my generation. I feel like that is a really, really big supply of like loosh for
Oh,
the
I can
matrix.
imagine.
Yeah, yeah, right. But I think that like consciously if we're like aware of the union, the intermingling of like the energies, all of that it can be. um, a more like sovereign experience for the individuals where it's um, not being like harvested and taken advantage of for um, entities and everything.
The
But
reason I'm laughing is because you're talking about sex, and I was
yeah.
like, if you get into gender, and you say the word woman,
Are you still feeling triggered? No.
oh man.
All right. Let's see. Let's
Well,
change subject. Let's,
but on that subject, we should
yeah.
probably say this that we are going to deal with because by the way, that comment, you are right. They mentioned that comment on a short,
Yeah.
and they asked it, and I saw it, and I was going to come back to it because I was actually answering all of the comments when I came back. It's not, you can't find it in the studio, or I can't anyway, in the
Yeah.
studio to answer it. So I'm glad you brought that up so that we could, because I still can't find it in our studio. Just disappeared. You know, YouTube's good for that. But I did answer that comment. I was like, that's a subject, the whole sex subject is something that would have to have its own episode for, I think.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I do think it is um, we can expand on, I guess that's what I'll say. We'll expand on the subject and our perspective on that in another episode after, uh, I mean, all of our subscribers are giving the amount of homework that I have when you're like, oh, I feel overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm trying to keep up with the comments. Uh, and then also I'll hear, hey, have you heard of this? I'm on, nope. Have you heard of this person? Nope. Have you read this book? Nope.
Yeah.
Have you seen this channel? Nope. And so I'm checking out all these channels I do actually, if you guys suggest something, I do try to jump on it right away, and look into it. So, but right now there's like 370 some odd of you and one of me and one of Devin. So it takes a little bit to kind of, although fortunately you've got a lot more point of reference for things than I do. You had a whole year and a lot more books on this read before me.
I mean anything. No. You're so good at uh thinking about things and sharing them and but um yeah.
Well, and I did figure out a way we could tie this back into the movie talking about sex because when he mentions,
Yeah.
when he mentions about, he even covers the subjects and he talks about how hormones, it's the mixing of hormones um, uh, and genetics.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, when you really think about it, it's actually really gross. The whole thing's really gross. If you really just, I mean, just think about just the act. It's really gross. I mean, I don't even like my own saliva that I have to deal with, right? You get too much of it, it's gross, and you're swabbing
Mhm.
somebody. And because here's the thing, our mouths are one of the germiest places on the planet. So when you just start when he said that in the movie, I immediately, my mind was like, ew, actually, bodily fluids,
All
genetics, and
inclusive.
hormones.
Yeah.
Yuck.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it really is like yeah. Yeah, and it's that way with everyone. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but like if you ever see two people that have been together for like a really, really long time, eventually they'll start like looking like each other. Like they'll physically start changing in their face
Yeah,
and everything. And they'll start to look really similar because they're mixing their
mixing for
um
years on end.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I can't help but think, uh, I don't know, how important it is for um us to make those like decisions to make sure that we're choosing people that are empowering for us, that are centered around growth as well. Because along with all of that genetic mixing, we're taking on their energies, their thoughts, their beliefs, and taking
I
all of
know
that.
that's what's really, I mean, I don't think, oh, I know for a fact I didn't even consider any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I look at the history that I've had and I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
wow. Like,
Yeah.
um,
We're mingling like our karmas or, I hate that word, but
yeah,
all of that together. Um, yeah.
no.
Yeah. So, but one thing we can do, uh, we always have the power to like cleanse our energies, right? Um, so just
How do you
always
cleanse yours? I've never asked you.
me. Oh, I just do, I go, I connect to my inner self, I connect to my divine essence, and I visualize like either a ball of energy popping out or I spin it and make it powerful. Then I just program it. Just like how I do with the entities and everything. I
Oh,
program it.
okay. Same thing.
Yeah, I'm going to cleanse my energy field for the next 2 hours, turn it purple or gold, and it's going to do da da da, like remove any energies, ties, anything related to other people. And then I can also like visualize it, like to do the waterfall effect that Tony teaches, where you're moving it around your body and it's cleansing everything.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll have to utilize that.
yeah, yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, that's a cool thing about doing something like this is because we get to see comments and suggestions.
yeah,
But
other people too. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, because you get like right now from Silver Soul, I'm using permission denied.
I like that. Permission
Uh,
denied.
because I read so Darren, one of the people that watches our videos, had commented on like, and I think he read the comment where he was talking about, well, if we're saying I do not consent, we're already putting ourselves in a more subservient role by virtue of saying that we have that, versus kind of the same sentiment of the same permission denied. Like, I know you have to keep
You do
smacking that.
that? It's so weird. I don't know why he keeps doing that.
I never did before.
No,
So yeah, that's
I'm
weird.
not
That's
even like.
crazy. Maybe it's me doing it.
But then when I do
Maybe.
this, it doesn't do it. Oh, there it goes.
Is it, is it just you? It's just you.
Weird.
That's crazy.
That's so weird.
But yeah, I like that. And then also and I can't take credit for that, but Silver Souls,
Yeah.
uh, um, she came up with that. But then also, I think it's, Thunderhawk, Heather Thunderhawk. That's her name. She came up with Kick 'em in the Astrals.
I love
And
that.
I like that. I love that, right? Like, that's great. That's great. I'm going to kick them in their astrals. She was basically, it was something in reference to, she was basically saying, when I'm out of here, I'm not talking to any, any guides, gods, this, that, or the other. And she goes, and if they try anything with me, I'm going to kick them in their astrals. I was like, you go, girl. You go. You go, girl. So, but no, yeah, I didn't think about the karma stuff either. I mean, not karma. It's the stuff that they try to throw against you. I wouldn't think I wouldn't, you wouldn't think about the fact that you could get mixed up with somebody else's
Yeah.
by virtue of that. Like
Yeah.
stuff that might be used against you later on is stuff that you picked up from somebody else because you had an intimate relationship,
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah. Because y'all are literally like becoming one for that moment in time. And like, yeah.
And look at this, like we talked about this in reference with Jackie. I don't know if it was during a podcast or if it was off, but we talked about that love is something else we'll have to do a whole thing on. But I do think there was a song by the Eurythmics in the early 80s called Love is a Stranger.
Hmm.
And she has this whole list of things. Love is a stranger in an open car to tempt you in and drive you far away. It's a dangerous drug. And if you think about it, in the movie, this movie alludes to that by saying love releases endorphins. Um, and what else releases endorphins? Drugs. Drugs do that too. So it's kind of like a lot of times love gets referenced as a drug. Of songs, I'm addicted to love. Might as well face it. I'm addicted to love. It becomes upset, and there's a lot of negative with it. Think about it. It becomes obsessive, possessive, um, lovesick. Look at all of the words that go along with that. They're not very positive. Even when you're in love, and like I think I've mentioned this on the podcast, the whole thing of that in and of itself is a very selfish something. I think that the entities could feed on, because nobody actually says, "Hey, I'm falling in love with you because it's going to benefit you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very, very selfish perspective, but it's deemed selfless when it's really not.
Yeah. Love is like it's a trap here, but yeah.
Not, I don't, I think romantic love is, I do. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just my, but I think the other forms of it, you don't, the other forms of it don't have the messes to the same degree, right? Like I mean, obviously the best form of love here is healthy mother for child love, right? The way that you love, uh, Harper. That's what I think healthy love is here. I don't think the other stuff, measures up,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we can get into that in another episode.
We should get into like all of that because I mean like there's so many forms of just toxic negative love out there and it would be a good topic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. With,
So,
Valentine's Day coming up.
oh, there we go. There we go. That'll be some. We could do
Yeah.
sex and love in February, I guess. Uh,
I'm sandwiched in right now. I have Charlotte then I can't move.
every time I hear the name Charlotte, the Cure song Charlotte sometimes always pops in my head.
I don't know that one. Do I
You
know
don't?
it popular?
It's a good, yeah. Well, it was popular. I got radio play on a couple of radio stations, but that was back in the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll send it to you or like
Okay.
look it up on
Okay.
YouTube or whatever and check it out. I think you'll like it. But
Okay.
um, I'm going back through the
Should we talk about the end of the movie? Or what else do we need to, what else do you want to talk about?
God. I'm just looking through because we've jumped around. We
Yeah.
pretty much covered.
Yeah.
We just talked about love, and I have a thing in here about love releasing endorphins, much like a drug. Sex, mixing genes. We just covered that without even meaning. So, like, I wasn't even looking at the notes when I brought that up. I already brought up the leap thing. I already read the quote about him and his narrow life and empty life with Gene. Oh, how about this? How about Anna? In a way, do you remember when Anna, when a teenager, she goes, "You're the first and last person I'll ever love," and I'm like, she's basically either spelling herself. I wrote spelling herself. I put obsession much, or
Yeah.
how about a form of contract that she's creating without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And I already mentioned, see, we covered a lot of this. I already mentioned the whole, do you know how I lost Anna, the unemployed Brazilian? I did have this in here too. Do you remember when he's standing on the train tracks and he's got the coin that he carved the yes or no in to
Oh
each
yeah.
side?
Yeah.
And it's so he basically is using a coin toss to decide whether or not he's going to let the train run him over.
Yeah.
We are getting close toward the end of the movie here because the next thing I have is when he's talking to, as an old man talking to the interviewer, he says, "You know what they say? Everything works out in the end badly." Quote.
I didn't
That
catch
was,
that.
so he said to the young man that was doing the interview
Mm.
toward the end of the movie, he goes, "You know what they say? Everything works out in the end badly."
Yeah.
I thought he was going to finish with everything works out in the end, and there was a pause, and then he goes badly. I
Yeah.
was like, "Ooh."
I know in the yeah, yeah. Another quote you have in here is everything is the right path. But I mean like look how the right path still wasn't like I don't know, all the right paths were still I don't know.
Yeah, that was a quote that he said, and because he goes, which life, that interviewer was asking the old man, which life was the right one, which path? And he goes, every path was the right one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Remember, that's what that was in reference to, because they were all possibilities. Um, and then I put, there was right after the whole everything ends badly that shows him as like that where he's talking about the physics stuff, and he talked about how the universe operates on entropy,
Hmm.
which is basically that in order for the universe to expand, it it basically involves, it requires disorder. It's what entropy is. And so they cover that. And then I had this quote with, I call it the plaid shirt life non-exist. It's like the non-existence life that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The old man talks to a version of the younger self and says, in this life, you don't exist. I don't know why. Only the architect knows. Which I was like, and there's that word architect.
Architect, yeah.
You know, and he goes, and then the young version says the architect, and then the old man says the child, the one running after the train. Maybe your parents never met. Maybe your father died age 5 after a sledding accident. Maybe you're one of the vast majority of those whose genetic code did not reach its final destination. Maybe when she died, a prehistoric woman, she killed off the line of humans which you belong. So for this world, you don't exist. Which I thought was interesting. Why would they cover that? Why would you include a line of why, you know what I mean? I guess because it's a possibility, yeah, that you don't exist at all.
Yeah.
So um that kind of freaked me out a little bit too. That quote when I watched it the first time around.
Yeah. Of just like not existing at all. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, or whether, or I mean, well, actually, the reason it freaked me out is because it made me think of. Have you? I mean, it comes up in philosophy a lot. I haven't really heard anybody.
I think therefore
Or,
I am. Or wait,
well,
no.
the idea that what if we're not real? Like
Okay.
some God is dreaming us, or we're dreaming ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, years ago, I had a book in which a story that I'm never going to write it, so somebody runs with it, run with it. But it's basically it happened from a dream that I actually had where I walked out my front door in the dream, and everybody, like the world was stopped. Uh, Nobody was doing anything, and but like people who were out and about were just like if they were walking their dog, everybody was on life support machines that I saw, even the dog, and everybody was frozen in place, and I was the only one like walking around and going, "What's going on?" And the after I woke up from it, my thought was, "Well, what if I was God? And what if the world I created I don't like?" And in order for me to get out of it, I've got to die. So I try to take myself out, but as a result of that, I don't succeed. So then I'm put in a mental hospital and then trapped there for the rest of my life. Then you have God trapped in its own creation. And
Yeah.
so it made me think of that. Like, what if we're that? What if we're creating the environment we're in and trapped in it? So,
You should write that book. You should do it.
you think so?
I think
Really?
it'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
I got about, I have it. I have pages of it. I think I wrote roughly about 100 in, and it started getting way deep. And I was like, how am I gonna, but how would I end it? If God goes back, it ends. And how do you end that? See, that was part of one of the things I'll have to work on, I guess, in the imagination, I guess. But if God stays trapped here, of course, there's all kinds of endings. But if I decided God wakes up and everything ends, well, there's no book, there's no ending to the book. It would just abruptly end because it's okay, there we go. I just solved it. Just ends.
Yeah. Yeah. Cliffhanger.
Dot dot dot. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, I guess I spoke it on here, so I guess I get credit for it in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and then the last few things I have here, well, we kind of covered it, but when he says, the old man is saying to the interviewer, how can you be so sure you exist? You don't exist. We live in the imagination of a 9-year-old
Mhm.
child faced with an impossible choice.
Yeah.
Um, oh, but when he talked about the impossible choice, then he gave reference. Here's the chess reference I talked about earlier, where it says in chess, it's called Zugzwang, when the only viable move is not to move.
Mm.
And then because that child is unable to make a choice, that's when everything imagined lives, everything starts, once he points that out, that the child isn't making a choice. And that's when after he says this, everything starts dissolving. And then it shows the kid running away from both parents, like doesn't run toward the mom, doesn't run toward the dad. He's running in the opposite direction. Um, and then I thought the ending was interesting. It shows him as the old man saying, "This is the best day of my life." And then he dies, and then it shows everything reversing. Remember, he's walking, it ends with him as an old man walking in reverse, and then it starts flashing other scenes of all the timelines
Yeah.
reversing.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I highly recommend it. It has a lot of, even there's more themes in there too, with even the in between life stuff that we talked about. But um, I would say that non-existent life seems like an in between kind of thing.
Yeah.
So were you happy with the suggestion of
I
the
like
movie? Would like
I
to
like
check it out?
yeah. Yeah.
It was so weird. I was like, there's so much in it that I was like, oh, I wish we'd seen this before. I wish I'd seen this before we did the Michael Newton thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was good. I liked it. I liked it. It made me yeah. Um Definitely made me think while watching it. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I did a bunch of research on like the quantum physics and mechanics and trying to like understand how it was like all tied into the movie and understand the concepts themselves because I feel like I'm still trying to grasp them sometimes. But I
Quantum
loved
physics
it.
is crazy. Like you can
It's so
almost feel like you can lose your mind with some of it,
yeah, you really can. Yeah,
especially string theory and all that too.
yeah, yeah. But it was mind opening. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I can't wait for. Is Jared Leto? Do you know if he's in a lot of those? I feel like he's in one more like kind of sci-fi, maybe truther movie. Is he in? Let me see real quick. You know how Ryan Reynolds is like, I don't know.
He's in a lot of them, as we
He's in
just
so
talked.
many of them, right? Like,
Which, while Devin's looking this information up, we point out that we'll try to give you heads up to check movies out before we cover them, so you guys can watch them. So we're definitely going to do the Saturnella thing. I don't know why I'm so resistant to this, wanting to do the homework on it. I really am.
one more time. One
I
more.
think because it bummed me out when I learned. So I think that's what it is. Um, but I'm currently starting that. And then Devin and well, we're both starting the research on that. And then we talked about when we do our Christmas movie review, we're going to put a Christmas movie reel up of suggestions. But after the Saxonilla episode, which we're doing next, the movies after that that we're going to review are going to be, it's called Last Christmas. You can find that on Netflix. Then we're going to review, in the same episode, we're going to spend about 30 minutes on each one of these. Then we're going to cover Dear Santa with Jack Black in it. Spirited with Ryan Reynolds, yet another Ryan Reynolds movie on our channel.
Yeah.
And Will Ferrell and Tracy Morgan, a bunch of people in that one. And then we're going to cover It's a Wonderful Life. So 4 Christmas movies. Don't say we're not giving you guys a Christmas present because the Satanilla thing, I don't know about you, Devin. You haven't looked like really, you looked into a different part of the Saturn thing when we covered that. Um, but,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of, even before Saturnilla becomes Saturnilla, it's the history before that.
Yeah.
With stuff coming, that's the thing too. It comes out of the Egyptian shit and Moloch and yeah, all of that.
So
So
Jared Leto, it looks like he's in, oh, sorry. Were you gonna say
no,
something?
I'm done. No.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I was trying to think, but he's in like the Tron movies and
Oh, that's right.
yeah, the Tron movies. What was the one I just read? Um, Requiem for a Dream, Fight Club, which is like another like kind of has a feel
He
for
was in Fight Club. I don't remember him in
um
Fight Club.
yeah, yeah. Uh I can't remember who he was in Fight Club. It's been years since I've seen it. Um
And I didn't know he was in the other one you mentioned before that either.
yeah, yeah. Uh he's in one that's coming out next year called Masters of the Universe.
That sounds like, I wonder if that's a Marvel movie or
It
DC.
sounds like it,
Forgive
right?
me,
Yeah.
or DC comic. I forget which is which.
Yeah. Um Marvel, DC. DC's kind of, they're both comics. Oh, he's in another DC film. He's in a cult movie. And you know what's so strange about him is he has his own like sex cult island, I've heard.
Oh yeah,
You heard of that?
yes, I have, and
He looks
he's
like he'd be
actually
part of
getting
a
into
cult.
trouble
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's getting into trouble
because,
with it?
well, it's he's getting allegations. They all do.
Yeah.
Anybody who starts a cult is for one of two reasons: power, money, or sex, or all three, all the above. It's never, when have you ever heard of anybody saying there's stuff even coming out about Scientology and with that in regards to that, among many other things? But it's always that. It always, I mean, if that doesn't tell you that sex is problematic in terms of the ways it gets twisted and the amount of victimization that victims that it, as a result of it, right? Like grape. I'm saying grape because I don't want us getting a strike or whatever, but all that kind of stuff that goes on, with it. But yeah, he's getting in hot water over, even I think one of the women claims that he wasn't letting her leave. But again, don't take that as I haven't actually verified that that was the case or that that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was something somebody said on a short, so I haven't had a chance. I haven't had cause to look into it. I'm really not. Uh, Most of these actors and we're watching their movies, but most of them, um, outside of the fact that we see their face on the screen, I don't have any use for them by
Yeah.
virtue of some of the stuff they participate in.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add to the movie we talked about?
Nope. I'll make a suggestion for people too if they're interested. I just watched another one called 9 Days. I highly recommend that. That's a kind of a life between lives thing, seven.
Okay.
The
Okay.
whole movie is about that. So, and we'll have to review that at some point. But if you guys want to check that out, it's another one I highly recommend. It'll be in the reel. So, no, I think anything else you want to cover that's coming up, or did I get it already?
No, I think we got it all. Yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right. Well,
everybody, thank you for watching.
yeah, we'll see y'all later.